after this, we'll be hanging out here for a couple minutes, a lot of times when we're talking that, but as quickly as I can, I want to head over to the ground round, the bar over there. $3.95 for an old-fashioned, 22-ounce old-fashioned. I've watched them pour. They're generous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can pay in kind. Yes. Yes. I do want to thank y'all for being here. Write great reviews, invite other folks. We're on LinkedIn, Google+, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. So, and about a dozen others. With that, I'd like to introduce my co-organizer, Ron Chandler, to introduce our speaker.
You would think after the last time they'd know better than to have me introduce anybody. So, what can I say about Jake Naraki that you already don't know? Anybody?
Who's Jake? No.
Very good. Jake is the founder and owner of Operation Self Reset LLC. Now, in talking with Jake earlier, I found out that this LLC came out of a need to do something based on his own personal experiences. So he's actually coming and presenting from the heart in terms of what this business is. He's also a fire lieutenant with the Milwaukee Fire Department. He's been so for the last 13 years. He lives in Franklin, has only one wife and 3 kids. So, Jake, like a lot of entrepreneurs, started trying to figure out different ways to get out in front of people in the market of business. He started podcasting in 2013. Now, today, his show has been downloaded by over 4.7 million listeners from 78 different countries. He has the #1 ranked podcast in Wisconsin, and his show ranks #3 in ranks in the top 3% of all podcasts on iTunes.
Wow.
So he's not going to talk too much about Operation Self Reset today, but you can talk to him and learn more about it. What he's going to share today is how he became one of the top podcasters in the world, we can say, because iTunes owns the world, right? And how we can take advantage of some of his knowledge. Before I get out of the way and let him start talking, I do want to make one plug for him. If anybody has an urge to walk on coals, I'm a big fan of The Office, and there was actually an episode where they tried to walk on coals. If anybody wants to do that, you actually will have an opportunity. Each year he hosts 2 live events called Self Reset Power, where attendees, among other things, will walk on hot coals to challenge their emotions that hold them back from creating a bigger impact on their lives. This year the event is going to be at the Aloft Hotel, which is downtown in Milwaukee, on September 9th and 10th. And also, if you are interested in this, on Wednesday morning, the 30th of August, he is going to be featured on a CBS News segment. So, without further ado, Jake Naraki.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for that great introduction. I appreciate the kind words. And one thing that I want to say when it comes to podcasting, because that's what we're here for. The numbers are great and they sound impressive, but the only thing that really matters when it comes to podcasting is taking that listener off of listening to you in their car or via headphones and making them go to your email list, letting them download something, or even coming to a live event. So you can have 1 listener or 1 billion listeners, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you're creating an impact when it comes to podcasting. Now, as this is warming up here, I'm going to give you guys my backstory. Now, back in 2012, I was going through some real estate difficulties. The economy was turning. I was with M&I Bank, going to BMO Harris, and it kind of inspired me to utilize my situation to inspire other people. My father was big into real estate, listened to Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, all those classics. And it kind of instilled something in me that, it's all about perspective. And I thought, why not me to start a blog? right? Blog is where you kind of first start. You get a domain name, Operation Self Reset, you build it out, you start to use different keywords and stuff like that. And over time, over the next couple of months, it was turning okay, but I wasn't making that big of an impact. Until I listened to Pat Flynn. He has a podcast called Smart Passive Income. The guy is awesome. He's so down to earth. And inspired me to take my business to the next level. And he inspired me to start a podcast. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go after this and see what happens. And from that, great things truly have done very well for myself. My business is basically podcasting. I do some blogs, I do some videos, but my number one stream of bringing in new traffic is podcasting. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, what you do, if you're physical, if you just solve one problem, or you're trying to expand your reach, podcasting can suit every single person in here, and most importantly, there's more than enough room for each and every one of you guys. Okay, so we're going to get started. So, we're going to back up here, because this was not prepared correctly. Let me just back up. Also, too, this is getting videotaped live, because there are some members here that are unable to view this presentation.
In other words, this part will be edited?
Hi, everybody! Please save the flow. So my story, we talked about that already. I guess I'll have to fill that in on the video. But basically, what is podcasting? First of all, who has ever listened to a podcast or knows about podcasting? Raise your hand. Okay, majority of us, right? So podcasting is nothing more than taking your voice, record it on a computer, turning that computer voice into called an MP3. And then you put that on a host. The host is like the platform where it kind of leapfrogs into the abyss of iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, all those different platforms. And then it obviously goes to the world. But the best part, and the most important part here, is it's on-demand content. The one unique thing about podcasting compared to video or YouTube is that podcasting, you can download the content on your phone, and then you do not have to be connected to Wi-Fi or use your data to listen to that content. And that is one of the most important things that I believe that makes podcasting so powerful and popular is because people are able to go work out, they're able to go on long drives, they're able to do things around the house while listening to your voice, your inspiration, your information, and of course all about your business. Second here, why? I kind of talked about it, but let's dive into it a little bit more. This is where it gets exciting. The traffic is enormous. Right now, there's between 1 and 2 billion people that are listeners of podcasts on all different platforms. Now, back in 2013, iTunes made a big deal about them reaching 1 billion subscribers in the iTunes store. Now, why is this important? That was in 2013, and as we can see the progression of technology, it has only expanded. And if you can see my number 3 here, it's in every smartphone, and even smart cars are getting into having podcasts being able to play in your car without you having to do too much hassle or to connect on it. Now, the middle number here, 600,000. 600,000. What does that mean? Probably the most important. There's around 600,000 podcasts currently in the universe. Some of those podcasts were started right in the beginning, so 2004. Some of those podcasts have dropped out. They stopped for some other reason, issues with the show, and they just, they decided to shut it down. But even with all those shows that are quote-unquote dead, they are wrapped into that 600,000 shows right now in the podcasting world. Now you're thinking, well, that's a lot of shows out there. Well, compared to 1.2 to 1 to 2 billion people that are listening, there's more than enough space for each and every one of us to get our share of the piece of the pie. So this was a great quote by Pat Flynn, the gentleman that I told you about that started, kind of inspired me. He said this: podcasting is one of the most intimate connections you can make with an audience. There's no other platform where a person will put your voice inside of their eardrum and listen from start to finish. Pat Flynn, Smart Passive Income. And when I heard that quote for the first time, I kind of laughed because it is true. I can plug his voice into my ears for an hour-long dog walk, but yet if my wife was to whisper in my ear, this way, I need my space.
This is being broadcast.
Yeah. She watches everything, so. But it's very true. I mean, these people, and the most important thing here is they listen from start to finish. When you build that connection, when you build that raw self of you bringing your voice into the world, people like that. People get that. They really connect with you, and they want to know, who is this Jake guy about? What do they do? Where can I find out more about them? And they're interested and intrigued. Because the one thing that is really popular today is vlogging, right? Where people are holding a camera and all that stuff, because people like real. Gone are the days of trying to be fake, sitting in front of your Lamborghini, taking selfies, and you're a big deal. People are done with that. They want raw, true people. And when you can build that connection, truly they will start listening to you from start to finish. And impact creates connection. We talked about the raw self. And most importantly, it brings you traffic and generates more sales. The people that have that likability, they become your raving fans. Raving fans will buy your ebook. They'll go to your course. They'll listen to every podcast. They'll read your guest posts on other sites. And they become a fan for life. And once you grab them and hold them, and of course you're giving respect both ways, they will be on this journey with you, and they'll see you grow with the progression of your business. So the sales cycles for podcasts is pretty simple. The consumer downloads your product, they listen to you, and at the end or in the beginning of each episode that you create, an episode is 25-minute to 45-minute segment of you talking, there's a call to action. Say, hey, if you want more information, sign up for my email list. Go to this website. Hey, I just released a book. Head on out to Amazon, buy my book. Leave a review on my iTunes, wherever the case may be, a call to action. People like the content, but people want more of you. You always have to direct them, because we are truly like a herd of sheep. If nobody's in the back kind of pushing us along, sometimes we just kind of hang out and just keep on listening to stuff without taking that next step to go and visit. So how? One of the most popular questions when it comes into the podcasting world, how do I do this? And, what kind of equipment do I need? Do I need to be in a soundproof room? Does it have to, really quiet, and I want my voice to be crystal clear? It doesn't have to be. It's very, very simple. We have a microphone. Now, microphones come in all different shapes and sizes. They can be, obviously, I've recorded podcasts just using my free Apple headset. But maybe the most, probably the flagship is this microphone. It's ATR 2100. You can buy it on Amazon, $70. Voice sounds perfectly. The best part is you take the USB and you plug it into your computer. There is no weird mixing stuff. It's one cord, and you can just set it and forget it. Probably the most impactful. That's what I started with. A couple of microphones I upgraded to, but I finally decided to be a sportscaster. And honey, not now. I'm podcasting. I have 3 little kids, and needless to say, I need to make sure that I got a good seal on there. But nonetheless, it's not about the equipment, because like I said, if you want to really be like professional sounding, $70 will get you there. If you want the cool stuff, you can spend much more. Like this was like $200 on Amazon. But there's, as we know, there's copious amount of equipment out there. Don't get wrapped into that type of stuff. The second thing you need is a computer. Everybody should have a computer. 2 types of platforms. If you're a Mac user, use GarageBand. If you're a PC user, use Audacity. It's a free, open software, easy to use. If you don't understand it, go on the YouTube machine. They'll tell you everything, how to fix it up, to set it up, all that stuff. Super simple. And you may be thinking, oh, it's getting a little complex. There's a famous quote up there, you're smart, figure it out. Right? All of you are smart, just figure it out. If you want this to work, it will work with you. And then lastly here, there's a service, this is the host. Remember I was telling you, take your MP3 file, you put it on a platform for it to spring off into the abyss. It's called Libsyn. Libsyn is what the pros use, it's what I use, and what other people use. It's great, it's reliable, all that stuff. And then lastly, all the stuff at the bottom is free. That's where all your podcasts can be found at. Yes?
What about YouTube for the host?
No. You can, currently YouTube will not allow you to spring it off into other branches. Maybe you can, I don't know. But you need Libsyn because they can reach so many other specific podcasting services. So YouTube, I don't know the logistics on that, so maybe I'll have to research it and get back to you. But if you guys are interested, I would really stick with this framework right here, going through Libsyn. And then in a minute, I will share how to get your audio-only podcast on YouTube for more exposure. Okay? All right, so this guy right here, his name is Cliff Ravenscraft. He is like a geek when it comes to podcasting. His room is insulated, like 12 inches. He has all the gizmos. His setup down here is about $12,000. It's to reduce the static in his home, so it's crystal clear. He has this huge mixing board, everything like that. He has multiple microphones, all this craziness, and people see this and they go, oh my God, I need that. This is what I need to be a successful podcaster. But if you were to flip on over, you heard my steps, you heard what I'm doing. This is my setup. A computer, the microphone, that's it. That's it. And then, of course, I take my computer to Wi-Fi and I upload stuff. But nonetheless, I was able to record a podcast during July 4th up in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. That's where my family has a cottage. And it was really cool because obviously I'm in the middle of the lake. But the unique thing was I told my audience, hey, I'm recording this out in the middle of the lake. You may hear other boats. You may hear the waves splashing. Huge impact. Emails, text messages, people calling me, that was great, we loved it. It was, you know, we could hear this and that, and people like to hear where you're at. They like to hear a different sound than just a muted you talking on a microphone. Again, if you're your raw self, bring your personality into what you do, people will latch on like crazy. So how much does this all cost? Like I said, microphone's $70. The listen service, $5 to $75, depending on what platform or service you want to use. And then again, what is your time worth? Because a lot of people think podcasting is going to take so much time and energy and all that stuff. Again, this is part of your marketing budget. You already do this in your business. All of us were doing it before we ate lunch. We're talking. We recorded that and put it on a podcast. I mean, we all have the ability to talk about our business. We talk about the pluses, we talk about stories, we talk about what's going on here, the impact there. And I'm telling you, it is worth the investment of your time to make sure that your marketing is going to move in the right direction. Again, podcasting. So, insider tips. Everybody wants to know, but where's the real meat and potatoes of getting on iTunes? Where's the real meat and potatoes of podcasting? Why can I get people, how do I get people into my podcast? Let's dive into it. Free advertising. Who wants to have iTunes advertise for your podcast for free for 8 weeks?
Okay.
Would that help or hurt your business? Thumbs up to that, right? So how do we do that? On the front page of iTunes, you will find this thing. It's called New and Noteworthy. It's in the middle section of the homepage of iTunes. Every time a new podcast comes into iTunes, iTunes does a nice thing. They will try to get you exposure. They want people to listen to your stuff. So they throw your podcast in this little slidey thing, and only for 8 weeks. After 8 weeks, you're on your own. So if you're thinking, I don't know, I don't want to do this long term, cool. Do a podcast for 8 weeks to get people into your podcast, then to lead them into other funnels for a book launch, for an ebook, for a consultation, coaching, wherever the case may be. And then if you don't want to touch it, totally fine. And you can let it go. But you will have the best exposure of your life by being in this sweet little square for 8 weeks. Probably the most impactful thing that iTunes will do for you during your journey of podcasting. The second thing is association, right? Companies want to be associated with an athlete because they show the athlete's really good. That means, you know, Tom Brady uses a Gillette razor. If I use a Gillette razor, I'll be, you know, able to throw touchdown passes. The same with Apple iTunes. Now, wouldn't it be cool if your business, if it was Operation Self Reset, you would have your main domain at the top, right? This is page 1 of Google. Number 2 is my event, Self Reset Power. And number 3 is Operation Self Reset, iTunes, Apple. Now, when people see that, what do you think happens to your credibility, your authority, when they look up your name or your business name? Like, oh, this guy has a podcast. Oh, this guy's on iTunes. Oh, he has good reviews. Oh, I'll check him out. This guy's legit. There's a lot of credibility on getting yourself associated with those 2 simple words, iTunes and Apple. And when you do that, it boosts you up a little bit and increases your notoriety when you're reaching out to new customers or clients. Now, the blue ocean. Have anybody heard of the blue ocean versus the red ocean? Raise your hand if you say yes. Awesome. Okay, for some that do not. A red ocean is basically an ocean that is full of blood. It's hard to compete. You're trying to get room to show yourself. Where you want to go with your business is the blue ocean. A blue ocean is clean. It's open. That's where I say podcasting is. 1 to 2 billion people, only 600,000 podcasts. 2.73. What does that mean? 2.73 million blog posts are posted each day online. It's hard to get exposure, especially when you're starting out. 300 hours, what does that mean? 300 hours of video is uploaded to YouTube every minute. Every minute. So creating that awesome video with an awesome backdrop and lighting and production and all this stuff, you're just 25 minutes in that 300 hours for that minute. And then lastly, billions of social media posts every minute, every hour. I mean, there's no way to calculate that, but we can all agree, you throwing out something into the abyss of Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you got to pay for it for people to see it, and then it instantly hits them, and then they scroll past it, and you're done. So podcasting is very, very powerful, especially when you start to see the stats of other organizations. Now, these are all important. You still need a blog, you still need to do video, you still need to do social media, of course, but the biggest impact is truly podcasting, because they will listen to you from start to finish. The other great thing is networking. All of us are in this room, we're networking, right? We're seeing how we can help each other, but wouldn't it be cool if I said, hey, you know what, I love your style, love your approach, I think you and I could work together, we could do something cool, what do you have in mind? Well, I got this podcast, I think, you know what, Tony is releasing his book, I'm going to have him on my podcast the week of his launch. Do you think that's going to help or hurt him? It's going to help him greatly, and he appreciates that. It brings people together that you would otherwise think, I have no way to reach this individual. Because the most important thing that we have is relationships. And somebody was talking before, relationships, it kind of takes a long time to build a deep one. There is nothing more intimate when you reach out to somebody with one email and say, hey, I'm Jake Naraki, I got this podcast, here's the link, here are my stats, I would love for you to come on my show, I think it would be a service to my audience. And they're a new author, or they have a company or a corporation, and they go, heck yeah, free advertising to your audience that you built up? Boom, I'm in. So when this guy comes on my show, we talk for 5 or 10 minutes before we start recording. We build rapport, we connect, we see more intimate details with each other, and then I have him on my team. When you have somebody on your team, they will support you, because if your ship goes through rough seas, or your ship decides to raise on up and produce a book, they will be there to help you along too. And it's a good kind of feed-off system. Isn't it true? Isn't podcasting, when it comes to working with other people?
Completely winning.
Totally, totally. You bring the value, and the great thing is, even if there's nobody that you found local, you can interview people in your industry from around the country, around the world, see what they're doing, figure it out, and I'm telling you, one email is all you need. You don't have to give a whole backstory, you don't have to tell them what you do and how all this stuff intricate. One email, tell them who you are. It's amazing how people just jump on and go, yes, I get it, I know what podcasting is, I'm in. So, all right, so next we got beyond the audio. Okay, we talked about video a little bit. You record this 30 to 45 minute podcast. What do you do with it now? It's sitting there, it's out in the abyss of iTunes, out on Stitcher Radio and SoundCloud, really good stuff, but you're thinking, okay, how can I use this to impact my business further? So the first thing is video. You can record your physical audio podcast. You can record it by, with my headset on, and I just set up a video camera, and I'm just talking to the camera, but I'm also talking to my podcast audience. That's number one. You can upload your audio-only episode to YouTube. Have you guys ever been on YouTube and watched a video where there's just a stale image, but yet it's plain? It's music or a story or something like that. You can do that with your audio file for more exposure on YouTube. You can chop up and upload to social media. You can do little snippets and post that on there. And then you can use an episode for an outline for an actual physical high production YouTube video. So I have over 204 podcast episodes, and in that list there are some golden nuggets that I could re-listen to just to get familiar with the content, and I could sit down and say, yeah, these are the 5 tips for personal growth, and I knock it out of the park. And you have a reservoir of content that is just sitting there that you can just dial back in, listen to, sit down, high production, and knock it out of the park without fumbling around and wasting time trying to craft this beautiful outline of a video. So that's part number one. Part number two, which is a very big one, is transcribe it. You can go on Upwork or Fiverr or any other Elance site to hire somebody very cheaply for them to listen to your audio podcast and then to break it down and basically type it out into Word. From there, you can put that into a book. You can put that into show notes, as in notes on your website of what the episode was about. You can turn that into long-form blog posts or short-form. You can chop it up, put it in social media. You can turn it into content for a website, turn it into content for your own website, like frequently asked questions, or about me section, or what's my story, anything like that. And then lastly, you can send it off to your email list. the ideas don't end here. This is not the one-stop shop. This is not it. I mean, there's a plethora of ideas. Whatever you think creatively, how it can integrate into your own personal business, you can do that through transcribing. Social media. You can build out little frameworks. You can build out pictures with quotes. And a new thing I've been doing is this thing where, I don't know if it's going to play. Okay, we'll just pass it up. It was basically a snippet of my audio podcast, and then it was showing my voice wave through my logo. Didn't work out real good there, obviously, but nonetheless, you can do different types of things with the podcast. And again, as Keith can attest to, and SEO. That's why we're all here. We want more exposure. Exposure to our business, which leads to exposure to what we're doing, and exposure to possibly getting more clients into our business. Use the right keywords, the key phrases related to your business, of course. So the last thing is, it sounds really cool, Jake. I'm really interested. But there's a lot of things that are holding me up. I don't feel like I got the right voice. I don't feel like I got the right ideas. But truly, yes, you can, people. Yes, you can. So the first thing is the voice aspect. People go, I don't have a good voice. It's raspy. It's irritated. I have colds all the time. I have, there's the oaks are releasing their allergies, whatever. I mean, there's always excuses, but all of us have the perfect voice. Because there is somebody out there that needs your exact voice with your exact storytelling abilities and your exact raw self to make the impact in your business, and it'll make impact in theirs. They need to hear your content. And the best way is through your own personal voice. And you guys all have great voices. I heard you all talking those. So the perfect syndrome, right? Everybody needs it to be perfect. So if you're recording your podcast, you're like, oh man, I said or I sneezed or I coughed or whatever. People like that. If you are true with your audience, if you just let them know, sorry, excuse me, and you push through it, people will go, fine. That's human life, right? If I was to have a coughing attack, you guys would just understand and wait patiently until I was done. Now, obviously, if it was, kids screaming in the background, they open your door and start pulling cords and stuff, you need to shut it down. But you only have a choice. You need to delete that immediately. But nonetheless, a lot of us claim that we're this perfect individual. Our business is amazing, everything is top-notch, everything is crisp and clean. I understand that's really good, but in the world of podcasting, when it comes to attracting the right customer into your business, you need to have that approach set. You need people to like you, that likability that I keep on referring to. And my guy, Zig Ziglar, basically, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. We all heard it. This is the best way to put it into action. Low content. Another thing that people say is, I love the idea, I have this business, it solves an exact problem, but I don't feel like there's enough for me to talk about. What can I talk about for 15 minutes? What can I talk about for 5 minutes? I will tell you, each of us have the gift to gab. You will be surprised at yourself how long you can talk on a podcast. Number 2, there's already content in your business currently, either from old blog posts or old conversations you had with clients. And also 2, if you don't believe that, answer the questions that you always get asked all the time. Hey, I'm a carpet cleaning guy, and people always ask me, how do I get, wine out of a carpet? Well, that's one episode right there. And you could layer them, just top 10 questions of obvious things that happen in the carpet cleaning business. And the content is there. And if you feel like, okay, that's really good, but I want to extend it farther, I don't have any more content, then you interview other experts, you interview other people, personal stories, people that just interest you, people like variety. Even though it all comes back to your business, you need to kind of shake things up because you don't want to just keep on hitting home, hire me for your carpet cleaning, hire me for carpet, and then they'll leave. They'll leave and they won't come back. So all you guys have great content. You just need to think creatively and let it come on out, and you guys will rock it. And the last question here, short-term or long-term? That is the approach, right? I'm in it for the long term, okay? I really don't see myself stopping my weekly podcast. I air it every single Wednesday. Been doing it for the last 4 years, and it's great. 200 plus episodes. So I'm in it for the long haul. Some of you are thinking, okay, well, that doesn't appeal to me in my business. Fair enough. The short-term approach is this. Again, set up a podcast for the first 8 weeks so you can get that exposure on iTunes. So people come on into your business. After that 8 weeks, shut it down, just let it sit. The reason is because when you have a new client or a prospect or you're talking with somebody, you can say, hey, I know you probably have a lot of questions about this business. Hey, you know, there may be a lot of things going on in your brain. Head on over to iTunes, download my 10 episodes. They'll answer the most frequently asked questions that I have. And if you feel I'm a good fit for your business, come on in. I'd like to take that conversation on a deeper level. So that is the short-term approach. The great thing is it will sit there forever. And the great thing is you don't have to upload it or whatever. It's always there. You can send it in email kind of subscription. You know, every single week you can send out a new email with your podcast or your episode. But if you're just thinking, I need something right now that can make a big impact, think of the short-term approach. Okay? Set it up for 8 weeks. Do the work that's necessary. Let it sit. And then have people come back to it as you see fit when they come into your business. The bad thing is it's not really key to do both. You can't really do, you're going to do consistent every single week and then go, I'll wait 2 months and then I'll do one and then I'll wait 6 months and I'll do another. Depending on what game you're going to play, short term or long term, you got to stick with it because that's where the real following really comes into play. And so that is Podcasting 101 kind of in its simplest form. Now obviously there's a lot more logistics. How do you get in that new and noteworthy section? How do you do a couple of the more finite things? How do you find a good intro and an outro song? How do you set up a podcast? That's all good and all. I mean, there's millions of articles out there. I mean, if you want more information, you guys will find it. Whatever you search for, you shall find. But for me, podcasting has been a big impact. Majority of the people that came to last year's event, was my first event, were from out of state, which was really impressive. This year I had 42 people signed up. 38 of them are, 38 of them are from out of state, but there's like 4 that are living in Milwaukee now. But majority of them are from out of state, all because of my podcast. So it's been really impactful, and I'm telling you, there is more than enough room for each and one of you guys to get in there. And it's very easy to set up, low entry cost, and the impacts are really, really impressive. So I don't know how much time I have left.
Couple minutes,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
leaving a little bit for Q&A.
Oh yeah. So that's all I really have to say. So any questions that I can answer for you guys in particular? Yes.
So when you're recording, are you speaking off the top of your head, or do you have an outline or a script, or how do you do
Yeah, I prep just a general outline. You know, when you have an interview, it's very easy. You just do a quick little intro on who this person is. You let the interview or the person you're interviewing basically fill the content, and then at the end you do a call to action or thanks for listening, blah, blah, blah. But if it was a solo show, like I do sometimes, yes, I would just have a general outline, and I just kind of flow with it. Again, incorporate personal stories. Not only in personal stories just from the business side, but your own human world too. People like that to connect.
Do you run through that outline out loud before recording?
I do not. No. I mean, again, now, I've been doing this for 4 years. You know, I feel very confident in just jumping on the mic. I mean, obviously in the beginning, there's going to be a lot of moving parts. You're going to press record, and then you see that thing scroll. And you get frightened, you know, and you go, walk away. So, yeah, of course, in time. But there's no easier way. If you just come out and say, hey, this is my first time ever doing this, you know, I'm going to give it my best shot, you know, whatever, people understand, and you'll only grow from there. My first podcast is horrible compared to where I'm at now. And it's impressive the growth that you will have. And anybody that's thinking about, 1 second, thank you, I'll get to you in 1 second. If anybody's thinking about, you know, presenting or getting better at the craft with presenting, there's no better way than getting on a microphone and feeling comfortable just talking and pushing through the ums and the ahs. And, you know, in Toastmasters, they mark you for every time you say that stuff, and I think that's valid. You know, you need to kind of clean it up a little bit, but the best way to get to that level of success in your realm, what you feel success is continuous practice. And I've been practicing for 4 years, and I'm going to get better. So, yes, sir.
I just wanted you to go back to all your podcasting lives. I mean, other ones you edit them?
I edit them. Yes, I do. The funny thing is, in the beginning, I would edit them, but now I record from start to finish. I don't edit at all. I just send it out. That is my approach. Everybody's different. Everybody likes to do different stuff. I totally get that. But for me and for my lifestyle, I have 3 kids. I work for the fire department. I do real estate on the side. I'm juggling a lot of things, and I know I need to get this podcast in, and I don't have time to chop things up and edit and pull things.
What do you do in your free time?
I talk to you guys.
He's fire walking every day.
Yeah, I gotta get my feet in shape. Yes.
So, how far in advance do you do these, and how many do you do at one time?
Sure. We were talking before, some people call it, batching, where you would basically record a majority in a chunk and then release it over time. It's just like a blog post. You can type out 20 blog posts and have them loaded into your queue, and then you can release them over time. For me personally, I always record them a couple of days or the day before I release it. I release it every Wednesday morning at 2 a.m. I feel personally I'm able to bring in stories from the past week into my podcast. And so if I record just content, and especially if I do a solo show, I'm not bringing anything personal because I haven't created anything personal yet because I just got done recording 2 other shows. So for me, I like to do it a couple days before. Sometimes it gets me in trouble, but majority of the time it works out because it shows my raw self into the episode. But you can batch it. You can batch interviews and stuff like that. That's not a problem.
Like all social media, the time of release is important. So what's the magic about Wednesday morning at 2 a.m.?
That is the when I first started, I had no idea, New and Noteworthy. I had no idea. I released with 3 podcasts. I waited 2 weeks because I was scared and nervous and like all these emotional stuff that goes on in your head. And then I released 1 and I waited like 4 weeks and then I missed the boat. I was on New and Noteworthy for like 3 days until I understood the whole science behind New and Noteworthy. I maybe would be farther than where I am today. Now for me personally, Wednesday at 2 a.m., that's my sweet spot. I do it at 2 a.m. because it gets released then at like 4 p.m. in Germany, and that's where a lot of my audience is. Okay. So, and now again, it doesn't matter. If you're starting out, I would suggest this. Start, release it every Monday morning or Tuesday morning. Time-wise, it really doesn't matter, but you need to be consistent. If you're going to stick with podcasting, once a week is more than enough. If you really want to bang on the drum, 2 to 3 times a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's the hot time. If you want to get high rankings though, a release on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because the iTunes store is like the stock market. When your downloads go up, your ranking goes up in iTunes at the top of the board. And then when you don't record a podcast and release it on that day in particular, you drop down. It's an ever-flowing chart of different podcasts getting thrown into the mix.
You mentioned a 3-day pattern. What was the day?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah.
And what if you were after Central Time Zone people? What would be the time that you would release it? You don't have to get caught up in the details that much. I would release it sometime in the morning because again, probably your fans are going to be listening on their way to commuting to the work. So maybe 4 a.m., 5 a.m. would be the optimal time if you're trying to hit the demographic in the Milwaukee region. So when they wake up, your new episode is loaded on their phone. They go into their car, they listen to you, they go off to work.
Okay, other than promoting your business, how do you make money on podcasts?
Yes. So when I first started, I had no idea really where to gather the money. Over time, people would contact me with one-on-one coaching. From there, I realized I hated working with people one-on-one. So then I decided to do a group coaching style. And I have a product called Self-Reset Mastery. It's like a gold program. It opens up at the end of the year, and it goes through the whole year. And so I gather a lot of people through that. My live events and other speaking engagements and stuff like that. But when it comes to monetizing, I'm at the point now in my business where I'm able to get sponsors on my show, which allow me to get a little extra revenue for doing something that I personally enjoy. So that's just like a free bonus in the world of podcasting too. So
Cool.
Do you have to drink the fancy bubbly stuff?
Yeah.
well, you want to know the real science behind this?
Yes.
Okay. So this has a lot of minerals and stuff, that are not found in tap water, especially Milwaukee water, because we all know. In preparation for my event, I like to go through this cleanse and to make sure that I am at my optimal energy level, because I'm going to be performing for 2 days and I got to bring it. So in that, I don't drink coffee. I try to relax on alcoholic drinks. I filter what I'm eating so I can be my optimal self. I take this as like a sports athlete. I grew up playing hockey and football and sports like the majority of you guys, and you got to prepare your body for doing different things. And the only way to do that is to make sure you're providing the best fuel for the fire, as I like to call it. So that's my style, my approach. But necessarily you don't. You can just go with Milwaukee Tap and I'll be A-okay.
Milwaukee water is fine. We had a cryptosporidium problem, but we were actually known for good water.
Loves it for fighting fires, too.
Yeah, it's great. Puts the fires out.
Bubbling, I got a problem.
That's down there.
Any other questions?
Jake, I want to thank you. It's
Yeah.
outstanding.
Yeah, it's all success. I mean, honestly, if you want to get into the world, you know, we can talk and stuff like that. All of you guys should be on this platform. It's a big impact. It can absolutely change your business. Thank you for the opportunity.
Are you coming down to Ground Round with us?
Of course.
All
Can I
right.
bring
The
my
more
sparkling
questions,
water?
bring them down to
Bring
the
my
bar.
sparkling
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And everybody, if you don't have a 5 for this today, tell me why. If you do, please tell everybody else.
And you can teach me how to do all that?
Yeah, and please get your surveys done, because Mark's not going to let you out the door until you have them. We do have a great program. Our next 3 programs are already up. September, October, November, actually, November, December are combined into December 1st. Combined into December 1st.
Yeah, I mean, it's more personal because it, I mean, there has to be an outline and there has to be a stamp out. Over time, I will. Yeah.
Hey, you brought that.
Thanks, man. Thanks, bud. Thank you, Keith. Thanks a lot. Oh, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we got prizes. We got prizes, folks. Ron, should we start with? Okay.
Podcast. Let me just say this because, you know, very often we do have the same door prizes every month. So if you are getting one for the second time and you want something else, you know, just wait till everything's passed out and then barter with the person that got what you want.
Yeah, from our sponsor, and I want to thank Jamie for being here, one of our sponsors. Thanks. The Cartier.
Thank you.
This is from Main Street Framing on Main Street in beautiful downtown metropolis of Lannon.
Pardon?
And the winner is?
Hey,
Hey, there you go. Congratulations. Get a picture. Get a picture. Hey, Lucas.
Yeah.
Yeah, get a picture, man.
Come on, only Stacy does that.
Oh, you already
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys look good together.
Good. Thank you.
Right?
And the bag goes with it. This is from Mike Raver. And he's got a couple varieties of this. I think that's the next one, yeah. Really enjoyed being at that seminar where I met Jake, Lucas put it on, Maggie was there, Stacy Cott was there. The winner of Entrepreneurship That Makes Sense is
Thomas again.
Tom.
Perfect book, okay.
Great book.
Bravo.
Was that first in the series of Make Sense? Or
Second. Oh, hey, come on up, get a picture with the author.
Probably do one-on-one, but not.
Oh, I already know the guy, man.
Well, yeah, but now we can
You want it for this
prove that you
site?
know the guy.
do a podcast with
And,
All right, thanks, Mike.
Okay. The first series in the That Makes Sense book line, when's the third one coming out? The third one, the end of the year. Okay. This is gonna be, this was his first one, again, by Mike, called Parenting That Makes Sense. And the winner, say something about it?
Well, I just want to say that one of the inspirations of my daughter and I creating this book is Sunny, who is sitting right here, so. I don't think we wanted to give a
one of our,
Yeah, it started in one of the coaching
one of our speaker alumni
centers.
from
That's
here.
where it started.
And the winner is Sunny.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
I don't have that one.
I'm kidding, it's Stephen Bass.
All right. Way to go, Steve.
Well, I have one on its way to baby in about an hour.
All right.
Cool.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Next is another book by another author within the group. It's called I Am, a children's book for positive thinkers, and the winner is Roger Bear.
And the Amazon bestseller. Also, there is another, that envelope in there. I'm not sure if Roger wants it. Roger, would you like to learn how to become an author? Do a free strategy session, or would you like to give this away to somebody else?
I don't know.
Lucas, I really like you, but.
Yeah, cool.
In a way I would, but I don't think I got the motivation to do it.
I'll give this away to somebody else. Yeah, let's get a good picture.
He's probably got good stories to tell.
All right.
Well, the other thing that I had here, I'll see if anybody else would want to.
Right, I get it.
So, the other thing that I have here is a free strategy session to learn how to become an entrepreneur, to create a book that will be your best marketing asset to build a business. And who's that? Jennifer. Who wants this?
Me.
We got this guy right over here. Your hand went up first.
Is it, your name again? Egoni? Egoni.
You on.
Excellent.
There you go. So yeah, just thanks again.
That's it.
That's it.
Very much.
Be at the bar.
Great meeting. Thank you, guys.
Do you have a card?
Oh, yes.
I'm blocking this
I got paid down on the machine shop, and I get self-storage. In the first of the year, I would start a big promotional campaign. Get rented up as soon as possible.
Says I want to
I've
talk.
already, I can already feel it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was in this light too.
My wife's uncle used to actually own a shop right over there. Sharp
Call your
Products.
friend. Regular walk next time.
Oh, Sharp,
Both of them.
Sharp, right.
In like the shed, like those big white sheds, I believe they are.
Yeah, well, it's in, yeah, it used to be. I tried to buy that, I was gonna buy that building. Well, he was renting in Quonset Huts.
Yeah. that
Well,
makes
Sharp was, he was in, no, he was in,
he was really good, definitely.
in the main building.
They're obviously in New Berlin now.
Yeah, I know him. He used to live right on, lived right on the alley where my shop is.
Oh, yeah, yeah, right on Hicks.
And then his,
Oh, really?
I really gotta give him credit, he really built that business up quick.
Yeah.
I know.
Pretty big right now.
Yeah, I know he's selling fittings and all kinds of stuff.
Can I take this from you?
Yes. A lot of different things. We did a couple projects together as well.
Do we have to do anything special to get the book on Amazon UK? No, we'll all be on it. It should be, yeah. We're on.
You guys are working together? Alright, well, the software I'm planning on using.
So I don't know if you're an Amazon,
They do
on that one,
a lot
you
of
type in all the specific Amazon URLs, then no.
So it's
Well, I
not
just
I get self-storage and my husband retirement. And I got a guy that's got to run
Eddie
it.
told me that if you're doing it
Travel.
through,
I can keep track of it any place
that you can only put it on.
Oh, nice.
So they only charge
Oh,
me
no,
$69.
there's so many different ways to do it. It all depends on what.
I think it's $69.
Plus, you can put it on CreateSpace and you can do that anywhere. You can do it on Spark.
Self-storage.
Do you really?
There's also Ingram Spark. You'd be able to do go to Barnes and Noble and order Barnes and Noble.
Once I get
Go to Barnes and Noble and have them order it.
pushes hard, we can't
Save all that time. Buy it on Amazon. Sure.
they say 3 to 5 or 2 to figure 1 to 3
I
years.
seriously don't know how Barnes and Noble
I don't think so.
they have a dark big
I'm looking at about 80 to 90.
I'm gonna take this from you.
So you would be buying a self-storage?
No, I want to convert my present building to self-storage.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Get
so,
rid of the machine shop.
I'm
Sure.
what's that, like,
sure. This
it
is
counts
like
for
for
you?
little Fred, you're
So that
like.
you're
Well,
able to go in.
self-storage is
Do you have, Do you have an Amazon card? Do you have a creator account? Like, do you have your Awesome Central account?
You got a guy's work for you can manage it part-time.
Yeah, there's a lot of accounts. There's Associates, Amazon Associates, there's Amazon Seller, Amazon Customer,
All I have to do is make marketing decisions.
and there's something.
I could do that from any place.
Okay, yeah, you don't that, you're gonna sell this channel. You're gonna sell the physical book.
So I'm really looking forward to it. I just gotta get up and center.
So you set up on print on demand.
Yeah, my building needs a lot of renovation and
So that'll be like through
financing.
Maybe we could, if you want, we could usually set you up on
Okay, about 5%.
just because the only reason, like the main reason why I would recommend Ingram is just get hundreds of books from the Barnes and Noble.
Some have to be
I
more
would never
steady
recommend
income. Later on, our kids, if they want to keep it, they can keep it.
Sure. Travel a little bit.
I wouldn't say it's easy.
If not,
So yeah, you're in the
$600,000-$700,000.
So yeah, I would recommend the Ingram Sparks that way. I would
My building now,
be able to set up an account for
the roof is completely shot,
so
so
if they could buy,
no, there's a lot of
they want to buy like 20,000 bucks.
different things I've looked at. Best use for the building and
Sure, there's different reasons why. Yeah, if we set up on Ingram,
all renovated.
we set up on Creative.
That should be pretty good. It's a booming business.
We'll figure it out.
It's so attractive now. There's a lot of people doing the same thing. So
Sure.
could get to a point where it's going to be really built. I'd be in a location that there's probably nobody else is in 2 mile radius. So I got some benefit areas.
Yeah, the closest one would be like 84th by the Pettit Center.
Yeah, 84th and the freeway, and then there's Lincoln, Cleveland, there's a couple. Yeah, they're all pretty close, a couple miles. Then you go south, and there's nothing going east. You believe me right now? Just being honest. Huge complex. They're looking at building on it, but it's a lot of space. That's probably got like 500 units or more.
Wow.
That's great.
You got a business center in there, and free coffee, and a lot of different stuff. There's a lot of things you can do besides just storage. There's a drop-off center for UPS or FedEx.
Oh, sure.
People can use and
That makes sense.
supplies, moving supplies.
I'm gonna get out of here, let you guys have a old fashioned. Careful or whatever.
Well, good luck with your plan.
Well, thank you.
Just touch base
Sounds like a good
next
idea.
week. Find some time, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I've done a couple seminars on it. So
Just draw
I'm excited about it.
what you see.
50 years, 60 years in the machine shop.
Yeah, got enough.
Yeah, just a young man, you gotta really grab the opportunity to push them.
Okay, all right, great. Well, thank you.
A lot of customer contact.
It's a different process.
So many of the big companies have all left.
There was, I had a couple mentors that were just like, this is how it goes. I'm like, all right.
And now you
The other
got
ones are, it's coaching, mentoring on the
ISO and all this stuff. And,
one
we're about
person was just like, all right, so this is
EPA
gonna be like the
and OSHA and
agenda.
wake up nightmares thinking
It was like very vague, so
somebody gets hurt or something, you're a big problem.
Oh, yeah.
But all I asked was just like, once a quarter. To go.
Fortunately, in 59 years, I haven't had no
So it was
really
just like,
serious
kind of like this one, whatever.
I had serious injuries in that life.
How are you?
Great, good to see you. I'm here, definitely. Congratulations on both books.
Thank get off of first.
Wow, you're on a roll.
Fun one, which I can't wait to give you the
Somebody gets
manuscript
killed
for
or
actually
something.
posting these up.
Oh, wow. Oh, I can't wait.
And it's cool because the last chapter, all the things that you and I were thinking, how do you,
So your first time here?
Okay.
I think you and I touched way back when to take the
Well,
two and a
see you
half
again. See you again.
year
Thank
old
you.
scenario
So we'll have a drink.
and bringing that as the. Nice to meet you.
You too, Chad. Chip. Chris.
How do I do it? Just talk to somebody.
All right.
So you can read the. Take care.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the common denominator to the story that kind of ties all this together? And I'm flying out to Seattle every other week and I hate flying. My biggest phobia in life is to fly.
Oh.
Yeah, I do it every other week.
Oh.
And it's because the prize at the other end is worth the jump. So anyway, so the whole process is going to be a conversation between this character that starts out the first chapter as this guy sits down on a next to an old guy. And he just has he's asking questions. So the first chapter is just his dialogue. And then the old guy ends up sitting next to him again on the flight from New Orleans to Seattle. And then it really gets into the first chapter to do it. The meaning of the story. As he goes in the kind of story, he sits down and says, wow, you're sitting next to each other again, that's a coincidence. And the guy goes, coincidence.
A God moment.
Yeah. What exactly does coincidence mean to you? Because I don't believe in coincidences. He's kind of the response. And he goes, well, I've been flying a lot, I've never had this happen to me twice. And he goes, well, you'd be surprised sometimes. So anyway, at the end of the final chapter, which I won't go into detail, you see the surprise. It's, and what the amazing thing about it was I reached the point 6 months ago, kind of an internal inventory. And
Not text, well, yeah, I guess.
finish this book, I have to figure out my own journey.
Not yet.
And I have a day to do it.
Oh, you do, okay.
Yeah.
So I just got a notebook, sat down next to the lake and sat began. And just said, okay, here's the paper, here's the pen, you're the author, write through me. And literally 6 pages later, then I read the chapter. Where did that come from? It was amazing. The story.
Let it go.
And that became
I can't read it.
I'll get you within the next few weeks.
Yes, please. Great.
Since we helped create that.
That's all right.
Yeah, and so sometimes it starts at the table, and it may take 2 years, or 3 years, or 5 years to start this, you know, or 10 years. But it's all worth it.
Read each other.
And the fun part was I had senior ghostwriter slash editor read it first. As soon as I got that put together, so what do you think? And she said, well, I'm comparing it, if I were to compare it to 2 books that impacted me in a very similar way, The Alchemist was one, which I thought was fantastic. I never told her about The Alchemist.
That was really cool that she compared it to that. Fabulous.
So she said, I tell her about The Alchemist being an inspiration. And she said, and The Silent Warrior.
I haven't read this.
I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Jamie Shipley. Very nice to meet you. Everybody, a couple people seem to know you, so I just wanted to see what you do.
Robert.
At the breakfast meeting, the book,
I have a goddess collection.
I was just telling this other guy writing a book on depression about
We
life.
teach classes in
Oh,
how
yes.
to
I
discover
can't
the
remember
goddess
us.
within you.
Yes.
So I call
Yeah,
it
I will
goddess
get him his
stuff.
information.
But I've been a life coach
He
for
just
30
left, he had
years.
to go.
Yeah, that's
He was
okay.
flying 10 years ago.
How you
All of these things that were written down in beginning
Happy day today,
sessions
first
all
day I belong to
still.
Well, that is a happy finally tested out my doctor.
So I do women's empowerment programs and life coaching, and I'm an author.
So said somebody with me.
And James, if you don't get
So, the guy was maybe
no.
Joey recommended.
I do greeting cards. That's what you want to hear.
When I got freedom, I could go someplace.
Oh,
There you go. Well, that's what I love
the cards here.
creativity. I can see that. It's
Yeah.
nobody wants to.
Yeah, you can see.
No, I had a real good guy that.
Oh, Is that not so cute?
Yes. Oh,
No,
no.
with.
You gonna do black or usually set some weight to
How
get
beautiful.
And you do the artwork too?
They're all handmade. Lovely.
Yeah. He gets close to Wi-Fi, or if not, he goes to McDonald's.
And so they can even do custom creations and stuff, so.
Well, keep hanging in
I,
there.
you know, we haven't had a chance to talk in so long
Yeah.
too. I'm
I got
actually
that from
finding,
because I gave it to my niece.
Yeah, I had one before I did.
please,